All right, it is Monday, December 9th. Drive to work. We got another topic submitted. Huge thanks to, I think, the Coding Lifestyle is the name of the commenter. I think it's a great question. This one is about sort of like the unfortunate reality of looking to let people go. So wanted to talk through this one. This is a hard one to talk about. Because the situation's never easy, but I think it's really good to, I don't know, like avoiding difficult conversations, I've learned, is just like basically never a good thing. So I think it'll be good to talk through this. The focus is not going to be about layoffs. So explicitly in their question, they had said ignoring layoffs in terms of like budget and stuff like that. When it comes to like an individual, like how much goes into keeping someone versus managing them out, kind of thing. So I want to talk through that. Obviously, I'm not going to, if I talk about examples, everything will be completely anonymized. I'd rather talk about sort of approach, if that makes sense. Yes, in my career, I have had to let people go. It's super hard. So I hope people don't have it in their mind that like people get excited about having conversations when people have to get let go. It's terrible. Like, it is a really bad time. So I kind of want to add that disclaimer, because if you've had a bad experience and you have been let go, or someone's told you a story where they were let go and you have resentment for the company or the individual that did that, I have never spoken to anyone, nor have I been in a scenario letting someone go where that felt good. Complete opposite. So with that said, before we get into discussing it, just a reminder, please leave comments below if you want me to answer questions about software engineering, career growth, career change, anything like that. Happy to kind of walk through different things. Even if I've talked about it before, if you want a different perspective on it, like want me to focus on something more specifically, please just let me know. And if you want things anonymized, so if you have a scenario and you want my perspective on it, feel free, look for Dev Leader on any social media platform. Dev Leader is my primary personal brand on my main channel. So you can send me a DM, provide as much detail as you want. The more detail, the more helpful it is for me. Okay, so when it comes to letting people go, I'll start by saying my gut is essentially pushing me in the direction of keeping people. So I want to do as much as I can to keep someone, and almost like to a fault, if that makes sense. So that's the direction I like to head in. It's something that when I reflect on any time that I've had to let someone go, or been in organizations where I know that like someone is having conversations about being let go, the situation itself, like going through it, is never easy, but afterwards, I think that it ends up being better for basically everyone involved. It doesn't feel like that at the time, of course, because it's like someone losing their job, so I don't mean to minimize that, but I have seen many examples where like things have improved for both sides. So I want to kind of chat through some of that. There's a couple ways to look at reasons for letting people go. We could talk about performance. We could talk about people don't like hearing about like fit in a company, because that's a very generalized way to put things, but I'll walk through an example of that. We can also talk about, and I haven't had to let anyone go for behavioral issues. So, and same with like HR violations and stuff. I have never had to let someone go for that. But something like an HR violation, I would say, is like much more straightforward. So I think it, and maybe I can't even say it that succinctly. obviously there would need to be like some type of HR investigation to figure out like the right action to take, because it could be depending on the situation, maybe it's like a warning first versus action that has to be like termination that has to occur. So that one I think is a little bit more structured, so I won't focus time on that. So that's certainly a thing. But we have like behavioral issues. One that comes to mind that I have not had to let someone go for is around, what's a good way to put this? So you probably heard, I don't know how much I can curse on YouTube, and this channel's not monetized anyway, but the phrase is intelligent asshole. Or intelligent jerk, you'll sometimes hear. But this type of individual is generally very smart, but they kind of have this bad habit of like steamrolling everyone else. So like, I'm the smart one, and basically things are just going to get done my way. And I don't think a lot of the time this type of individual like intends to be malicious. Like, I think they're actually acting on what they believe is in everyone's best interest, but the problem is that it's like outrageously toxic within teams. Like, it's completely ridiculous because an entire team will grind to a halt. So if you've worked in teams with individuals like this, you will know what I'm talking about, because it feels like no one can get anything done unless it's like scrutinized by someone, and then they might as well have written the code or whatever their way in the first place and saved everyone time. So it's kind of crazy. But I've never had to let anyone go for this, but I can say firsthand when individuals like this, I've seen them part ways from teams. I have seen complete team transformations in positive ways every single time. Every single time. So around this one, I would say, again, my gut tells me work with the person first. Okay, so if someone is an intelligent asshole, I don't think a lot of the time they realize the impact that they're having. So this would be a coaching opportunity, which can sometimes be challenging because in the first place, I'm generalizing here, but these types of individuals generally feel and believe that they are like the smartest person in the room. So coaching can sometimes be challenging because it's like I don't need your feedback, or else they would be getting peer feedback already, kind of thing. So it's challenging, but it's certainly doable. And if you've built up a lot of trust and respect with an individual like this, I think that you can make changes. In fact, I have seen with individuals that they make changes, but it's challenging, right? It's like, it takes them being very willing and having a lot of awareness. And that's going to be a theme based on this oh man, gotta let this person merge. Two people not letting someone merge. So a theme is going to be like willingness to improve, okay? That's going to be something that I want to keep coming back to. So with these individuals, coaching's challenging, but if they're willing to kind of like listen and hear the feedback and then come up with like strategies for acting on it, I think it's definitely possible. So I would say if people are willing in these situations and they have a manager that's kind of willing to, put their foot down and say, hey, look, like, I want to be able to help you, and clearly, like, I'm having observations or getting team feedback, whatever, that like things are challenging, that they step in and try to work with this person. I think it is something that you can transform. It's just that it's difficult. It's not like, hey, it's a skill issue, we got to get you to work on some things and ramp up. It's behavioral, right? So people that are on the receiving end of this feedback have to be proactive and saying, like, I need to recognize when I'm doing these things, catch myself, have awareness, and then try to make changes. So it's doable, but I would say if people are not willing to make the changes and we don't see like consistent improvement, I can oops, I keep spitting. What's going on here? I don't edit these videos, so you're going to see me spitting apparently. I would say with confidence, though, that when I've seen individuals not move on this type of stuff, that when they depart the team, like I said, just completely transformative for the team in a positive way. Now, with that said, I wanted to come back to things being positive afterwards, right? So I have heard of individuals like this when they go to a different team, say a different organization, different team, they actually find, like, I don't know, and I don't know exactly what it is about their working environment, but if they get surrounded by certain other types of individuals, sometimes they can positively feed into this and end up finding great spots to work. So again, I've never seen firsthand someone that is sort of like this intelligent asshole type move to a different team I have or something, or have another team in close proximity, and then seeing that transformation happen where they're like, oh, this is actually a good fit now. But I have heard this sort of like secondhand, that individuals have left companies, gone to a different team, and it's not like their personality changed. They're the exact same. They weren't, the coaching efforts or whatever didn't really transform their behavior in the existing environment, but they go somewhere else and all of a sudden it's a great fit. Team loves having them there. They love it there. And there's something about that team dynamic that's now different. Whether or not their behaviors change, different story. So maybe it's a matter of they have more people that are just like willing to completely push back, right? So just as an example, I'm kind of thinking through this. If you have someone that's like steamrolling conversations and everyone else is too passive and just letting things go, maybe that individual actually needs someone to be more vocal, push back, and they will actually back down. But when you have a team that's not confident enough to do that, and it feels like conflict and friction, they end up being too passive and just letting this person steamroll everything. So maybe that's what's happening, just a thought. But this is one type of scenario that I have seen around, like, either managing people out or trying to coach, right? So willingness here. If they're not willing to make a change, it's only having a negative impact. I don't think that it's necessarily fair to coach the entire team around them. So based on my last statement, if that was true, obviously, like, it's a work in progress for everyone to build up confidence, but I can't have one person on a team completely inhibiting progress for everyone else. So when that person does leave, if they do, that transformative team change I talked about is that people actually step up and take leadership positions within the team, like almost instantly, which is very interesting, right? So it's just like dynamics that happen within teams. But anyway, that's example one. Example two that I want to talk about is I think one that I would spend a lot more time coaching around, and almost, I don't want to say like never would manage someone out for this, but I would be willing to invest a lot more of my personal time for someone is willing to make a change. So for example, it could be skill issue, it could be focus issue. So I've dealt with both, where individuals either are not skilled up in an area, or like with a hard technical skill, or they have challenges with like prioritization, time management, focusing on the right priority. So they get stuff done, right? They get stuff done, but it might be like they're focused on the wrong thing, or they're kind of, I don't know what a good word is, like their attention is kind of just like wherever versus like on something that's going to be valuable. So, man, that sun is something. Holy. So the big difference here, the big driver here, is that when people are motivated, I feel much more willing to pour as much time as I possibly can into helping someone and finding ways to support them, right? Because if they're motivated and they're willing and they're engaged, the point is you're putting energy in, or you're getting someone else on the team to help mentor, whatever it happens to be. Energy goes in, and because the other person's willing, they want to try and drive positive change. Okay, so you put effort in, they will be trying to match that effort. they want to match that effort because they want to do better. And again, coming back to like trust and respect, I've worked with individuals like this, and really tried to make sure that they have trust in me, that they respect me, because then I can be honest with them. I can say, look, like, we're not getting it here. Like, we need to shift gears on this. We need to readjust focus. For skill issue stuff, hey, like, you've been stuck on this for a while. I need you to speak up sooner to get you unblocked. Just these types of things. I mean, it's always going to be very situational, but when people are like, okay, like, I actually trust Nick, I know wants me to succeed. I really want to succeed. Like, I'm willing to kind of put in the effort here, as long as I keep getting this guidance and this positive feedback. Yeah, I've absolutely seen people make complete 180s. And I think that key ingredient is that they are willing, right? So I've seen, whether it's skill issues, I think focus issue is probably a big one. I've absolutely seen people where, like, all the intentions are right, but when they're not focused on things, it's almost like just doing work, and it's not sort of like not the right work, not the impactful work, or the quality of their work starts getting missed because they're trying to jump between too many things, and not having this awareness, right? They're like, I'm keeping busy, therefore things must be good, but it's like, it's not. Like, quality is a huge thing. Consistency and quality is also huge. This person's got a signal on, but they're not moving. Okay. So that is the one scenario, especially, where I would put a lot more time and effort into. Now, I have seen counter examples of this, like, that don't pan out, and I wanted to share an anonymized one for my personal experience where I did have to let someone go. It's basically a focus issue, and they're in a situation where, like, you know, nothing of, like, didn't have skill or anything like that, but basically they were always just doing other things. So they would go work on just other random stuff, and we'd be, like, completely missing like, deliverables, right? So we'd have these expectations that something would get delivered, they'd agree to it, and then we'd just be off, like, just doing other stuff. And then we would be like, whoa, like, what's going on here? Like, this thing, we were expecting it like 2 days ago, and you haven't even started, but you're creating this other work and that you haven't even talked about. It's like, the challenge here is, like, it's a business. It's not a hobby project. So having conversations with individuals like this to try and make sure that we can refocus attention. But in this scenario, had repeated conversations about, like we, you know, when we talk about the stuff that we're trying to ship, the expectation is that you're working on those things, because if not, we need someone else on the team to do it. And then whatever else you're working on, like, that still needs to be a business priority. We literally can't just go, like, it's not just about writing cool code. Like, we can't just do that. And in the end, for one individual, I did have to let them go. It was a really difficult conversation. Like I said, it always is. But what I wanted to share about this situation, right, because it's never easy, ever. But for this situation, I actually ran into this person later, several years later. I'm not going to go into the details because it doesn't matter, but basically our paths had crossed based on some other interests. And I remember seeing them and being like, oh, it's that person. And thinking in my head, like, as probably many people would, like, oh, great, now we're going to have an awkward interaction here. And what happened was this person came up to me and they said, hey, like, you know, good to see you. I haven't seen you in ages. And we're just kind of like catching up briefly. And then they brought it up. They said, I just wanted to say this because, like, you know, we're actually catching up here. But they said at that time it was obviously really hard. But they said that was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. They said I didn't see it at the time because obviously it's hard news, you know, you're losing your job. But they said, you know, essentially, like, you were right. And I ended up going to this other place and it was a better fit for the things that I was like sort of allowed to focus on in terms of their interests. So they were actually thankful, and they were like, it was hard to see at the time. And obviously at the time, I'm not like planning this in my head like I have a master plan. It's just like I tried and it wasn't a good fit, and there wasn't change. The willingness to change was not there. So forcefully change the environment, and they found something that worked really well for them, and they were thankful. So, you know, I thought that was a very interesting one, to basically come full circle and have someone say, you know, it's a hard time for me, but I ended up finding something that really worked well, was really aligned with me, and they were, like I said, they were thankful that in the end it happened. Obviously at the time, I'm sure they were not happy with me, and I could understand why. So yeah, just anyway, wanted to share that because I think it's an interesting one. But that was an example of change not occurring and having to kind of move things in a direction that's unfortunate, right? But positive outcome in the end. I wanted to bring that one up too because I mentioned earlier that often this kind of stuff can end in a better position for everyone. It's just about when that happens, right? So this person realized much later. So positive story in the end. I want to shift gears. There's got to be some like pun with that, right? Like I'm driving to work, ranting about software engineering and shifting gears. I might lean into that one a little bit more. It's like all the tech slang. We got to double click on that one. We circle back. Double click on that. Like what? It's a weird one. I want to talk about the sort of opposite end of what I've been describing most of this talk, which is when there's not a willingness. So I kind of started bridging that gap. I would say for this last person I described, I don't think it's necessarily fair to say like there was no willingness. I think they were hearing the feedback, but they weren't making change. I don't know if you would call that not willing or unable, or maybe I did a poor job coaching. Like it could have been all the above. So I don't, you know, can I take more responsibility on that one, perhaps? But I want to talk about when individuals are not willing. So this one's challenging because, well, in particular, for my style of managing, it's challenging because I want to put time and effort into people. Because when something's not working, I want to try and find whatever way I can to make things work. Because I know inevitably if things don't work, it's a really difficult conversation for me and the other person. Like it's two people that don't want to have that conversation, right? So I would much rather go invest time into making things good. Like I want to be able to help fix and improve things. That's literally my entire role. But I've kind of learned in my career so far that like I can't take full responsibility if something doesn't work. I can't say, oh, then it's my fault, because it takes effort from both sides. So, one second. So, because it takes effort from both sides, it's going to mean that like I can't just put in tons of effort and it not be met on the other end, because it won't succeed. And conversely, if that person was super willing and engaged and I wasn't doing my job as a manager to meet that energy, it's going to be challenging for them to succeed, right? So in these examples, I personally struggle because I'm trying to look for whatever way I can, and I will try to set up like, hey, we should try to do X, we should try to do Y, and I have to be transparent with them. I have to say, hey, look, like expectations are not being met, and here's why, right? So we're not avoiding the hard conversations. We're trying to avoid the really big hard conversation, but we have to have difficult conversations along the way. But another thing that I've learned is like you can make that difficult conversation less difficult by structuring it in a way that's like, I'm here to try and help put as much energy into this as necessary to help you succeed. So you can try to make it like a positive thing. And obviously, it's I realize that sounds kind of silly, but I mean, it's already not a great situation. Let's try to make it better, at least. But when people are not engaged, it's really difficult. So one of the things, when I notice that there's a lack of engagement and I'm trying to coach someone on this stuff, is taking a step back and being like, is there stuff going on outside of work? Is there stuff with your work that's just uninteresting? Like, to me, the first indicator is like when I don't see engagement, I'm not going, oh, this person must not be qualified for the job, they must be dumb or something like that. My head goes straight to engagement. Like, they must not be engaged. So why is that, right? Is it overwhelming? Like, it could be any number of things, but I need to have a conversation with them to understand it. And this is, again, why trust and respect is really important. If you think about a situation where you're talking with a manager, or you are a manager talking with an employee, when you want to have a conversation that's hard like this, and it's like, hey, like, I'm noticing that you're not meeting expectations, and to me it appears like engagement, like what's up, right? If you don't have a good trust and respect relationship, you can imagine that person's going to be like, screw you, man, I don't care what you have to say. What is going on here? Just taking a bike off a bus and blocking traffic. Let's go. That's a double whammy. I don't like buses in front of me, and I don't like bikes in front of me either. You're going to put both. So I try to look for re-engagement opportunities. Like, is it something that we can control, right? Are you on a project that sucks for you? Do you have stuff going on outside of work that, like, we can try to work around, right? Like, I think I talked about this before, one of the videos about, like, flexibility for people, like, especially if they're burning out kind of thing. Just try to make some space for them to say, hey, look, like, if you can't focus and, like, you got stuff going on, like, take a day off, right? Like, trying to just, I don't know, like, lean into the more people side of things. But the challenge here is that when people are not engaged and then not willing to try and drive change, like, I can't make that happen, right? At the end of the day, all that I can do is try and put as much support in place for them as possible. And if they're not going to be making changes, like, it's kind of inevitable, unfortunately. So if the question that was being asked was like, how much time and effort, these things are situational, right? I don't have a formula for it. I don't think I have a repeat situation where I can say, oh, it looks generally like this. So very situational. But at some point, there needs to be this tipping point of, like, we've tried enough over a long enough period of time with enough, like, examples, and we're not seeing movement. It should, I guess, a gut feel for me kind of thing is like, if I had to have that conversation with someone, because, like, I want them to succeed, right? That's why I'm able to kind of go down this this path here, is like, if I can think in my head, if I have to go have this difficult conversation, do I feel like I could honestly look at this person face to face and say, sorry, we have to let you go, and feel confident that I tried everything that I could? I think that for me is my litmus test. Because if I'm like, oh, like, could I have? And I think earlier in my career, this would have been much more difficult to like rationalize. But I think I've seen enough not enough examples like I'm an expert, because whatever, can always improve. But I think I've seen enough patterns to formulate this opinion where if I feel like, if I go through that mental exercise of like, if I had to tell this person today and I feel like I'm on the fence still, like, could I have done more? Then I will probably do more. And maybe to a fault, honestly. I would say if I were at a startup now, I would probably have a little bit, no, you're not, come on, you're not doing that. You're not going to try to change lanes when you're going to be directly driving into me. If I were at a startup now, I would be a lot less lenient about that kind of stuff. And it's only because from being at a startup and knowing how important it is to have like everyone kind of moving full steam ahead. It's critical. And the last part, as I kind of get to the office here, the reason why especially is like when these types of things are coming up, I know the framing of all this, as I've been talking about it, is very much between a manager and employee, except when I was talking about intelligent assholes. And I want to bring some of this up again here to close off, but it affects the whole team. Right? When you have someone that's engaged, at least, like, the team might not perceive that there's an issue because they're like, I see that this person is trying to do stuff, right? At least. But when someone's not engaged and they're just not doing stuff, like they're completely underperforming because they're just not delivering, teams really notice that. What the heck was that sound? It sounded like someone laughing inside my skull. That sent chills down my spine. I must have driven over something. Anyway, teams really notice it, and it has really bad morale effects. So intelligent assholes have really bad morale effects, and people that are just like clearly not getting stuff done, teams notice it, right? And then they feel like, why am I putting in all this effort? This person's not. So something else to watch out for, but I hope that covers a handful of examples. They're all situational. I don't have a recipe or a formula for timing, how much effort, cost analysis, but it's situational, and I try as much as possible to lean into finding engagement challenges, trying to help people make adjustments. But ultimately, if people are not willing to drive change, this is one of the biggest areas of learning for me, is like recognizing that, seeing if I can do anything about kind of kickstarting that. Like, hey, I'm observing that you're not really willing or you're not engaged. If I can't get that to kickstart, I might kind of shift my approach to like addressing these types a little bit earlier, because it's impactful for the team, and it's a lot of effort that could be wasted if people aren't willing to make change. So hope that helps. I really appreciate that question. I think it's a really difficult one to navigate. Got some perspective on it. So thanks, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.